Buddy Hector is here, so we are ready to go. If you know, you know. Good morning, everyone. Welcome. Oh, thank you. All right, we need some waking up. So good morning, everybody. My name is Agnieszka Nens. I represent Tulane, the administrative home of the organization, and I am also a board member. So I will be very brief today, and my point today is only about few items about housekeeping, because there are some changes, some adjustments. I'll be very brief, announce a few things, and you'll be able to focus on our distinguished guest this morning. First of all, how's dinner tonight, last night? Yeah? Yeah? All right. And I hope the first sessions today were also informative and you enjoyed the presentations and the learning coming from it. So thank you for joining us today. Let me just open it up so that I am current on all the updates that I need to present to you. So for our housekeeping, first of all, oh look, this is me. We would love your support on our social media and also on your photos. So if you don't mind, if you scan this code, it will take you directly to the folder. We would love for you to share your photos. And if you have your Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, whatever social media you use, if you can kindly add the hashtag IARSLCE 2025, IARSLCE in South Africa, IARSLCE Urban or IARSLCE Durban. We would greatly appreciate. All right, you probably also noticed that every day we ask you to pick up a new wristband. So today for lunch, you should have a silver wristband and also a drink coupon. So you're gonna receive tomorrow a different one, as well as additional coupons for the cocktail reception that will be happening. So let's just briefly go through another QR code. So tomorrow, Stacy and Hector will be leading our town hall for members, and there is a little bit of homework. I think you're all scholars, you're all practitioners, you know what it means. So if you can scan the code, it will take you directly to our reaffirmation statement. It's quite long, but if you have, I don't know, 10, 15 minutes, please read through and just reflect a little bit, right? We are all people who love reflection. This is part of our job, right? Reflect. So please read, reflect, and just think a little bit about like what to do with this in the context of the fact that it was written in 2014. We're right now in 2025. So just keep that reflection in mind. So another item is, this is our schedule for today and tomorrow. So the membership town hall will happen tomorrow between 10:15 and 11:15. So this is this item of your homework reaffirmation statement. Today we have the plenary. Afterwards, lunch. Lunch will start around 1:10-ish to kind of smooth out the flow a little bit. And then afterwards we have 2 concurrent sessions, and between 6 and 8 we'll have poster reception. Everything today happens on this floor, so except for lunch, of course, in the saffron room on the 4th. Okay. What else? I think this is it. Did I miss anything? Oh, conference, of course, evaluation. Another thing, today, tomorrow, usually after, if you decide to wait a little bit with the evaluation until you get home, please make sure it's really important to us. As you know, the next conference will be shaped by your feedback from this conference, so we would greatly appreciate your evaluation of this event. And then, yeah, we'll take it home from there. So, Rochelle, I think this is it. All right.
Okay.
There was a question.
Oh, a question in the crowd? Thoughts?
Can you go back to the QR for the town hall?
Yes,
thing?
of course. Here you go.
It's also on our website under About Us, reaffirmation statement. Mm-hmm. Yes, yes. Yeah.
And I can tell you there's probably a lot of more like housekeeping items, but throughout the day, just step by step, a little by little. Thank you so much.
Yes. One more, Agnieszka. I'd rather their beautiful faces be up. Perfect. Great. What was the greeting? Salbona? Is that right? Salbona. Sambuna. By Friday, I'm going to be an expert. Salbunani. Sanbunani. And then you're supposed to reply. Oh. Okay, one more time. Sanbunani. Sanbunani. Oh, yay! Okay, great. I'm practicing. By the time I'm back in California, I'll be an expert. Okay, so it is wonderful. Thank you, Agnieszka, for those housekeeping notes. I'm thrilled to host the Global Scholars panelists, but of course, I've got my own housekeeping. Because this is a group of former and current board members, I want to make sure I take the time to recognize our board members in the crowd, also former and current board members. So if you have been affiliated with IARSLCE as a board member or in one of our committees, I'm asking you kindly to stand with us. Please let us recognize you, even you newbies. I'm looking at you. Yay! Awesome, awesome. Thank you, thank you. Truly could not have put on this conference without them. Of course, there's the executive committee, but we also have to have our collaborators and co-dreamers to make sure that we actualize this conference here. So thank you to all of you, our former and current board members. And then I realized that someone else stood up along the group, and this person has been very instrumental in making sure that all of our sessions have been well paired, well timed out together. And so, Dan Richard, if you would stand for us, please. We are so grateful for your support. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. And so if you have any issues of who you got paired up with, Dan is your person. But do know we're grateful to Drew, who is now on the board, who started that initiative of helping us plan the schedule for the conference. So we're grateful for all the volunteers who help us put on this good work. And then I also want to make sure that I recognize, so when I went to the market tour where I got this lovely dress, we had an opportunity to meet a local nonprofit organization. So I just want to put a small pitch in. The bookmarks are on your tables here. They are from the Dennis Hurley Center. It's a nonprofit center helping unhoused individuals here in Durban. And if possible, if you have clothes or some items that are not going to quite fit in your suitcase as you go back, we'd love to be able to donate that back to the center. We met with their director, and he gave us a really great overview of the organization, and I just feel it would be unfortunate if we didn't stop and leave something on our way out to them. So if you have something, some clothes or a book or an extra DUT piece of material, they gave us so much swag. If you're not willing to take it back with you, why not us donate it to this organization as well? So I think those are most of my announcements. Okay. Back to these lovely people on the stage with me. The Global Scholars Panel brings together a distinguished group of current and former IARSLCE board members who represent diverse global regions. Together, we'll reflect about the organization's 25-year journey, explore key milestones, and look ahead toward inclusive and future-based directions for our field. I'm going to introduce our panelists. So we have Carol Ma here in the green dress from Singapore. She is a former board member. Nasir Ramira is from Ecuador, a former board member. Hector Opal Carval from Chile in the blue. Stephen Chan from Hong Kong, who also is heading the consortium there. And then Nicole Webster, who works from the Caribbean and West Africa, a current board member who's also a former chair as well. Each of these scholars represents perspectives on service learning and community engagement in their region. So to help guide our conversation today, I've asked each of them to briefly, 5 minutes, you're gonna have Q&A, to share about themselves, an update on their current scholarship, any key trends or developments they're seeing in the field, and then any personal reflections or insights they'd like to offer us as we reflect on our journey together. I set it up so that it'll go by picture. So Hector, you're up, my dear.
5 minutes.
5 minutes. Look at Stacy.
2 minutes left. Oh, God. Mi nombre es Hector. My name is Hector. First of all, I'm a dad, I'm a husband, I'm a son, and I'm a brother, right? And I used to serve as a director of research and development at Universidad Católica Silva Enríquez. And I established actually this direction 4 months ago. And for over 2 decades, I work in service learning and community engagement across Latin America and the Caribbean, in Europe, and also in West Africa, working alongside schools, universities, communities, and contexts marked by both beauty and complexity. I see myself as a scholar in this topic as a worker, a trabajador, working in a craft of democracy. I like bridge workers. I like the work that they do because they create opportunities to bridge gaps between policy and classroom practice, between research and wisdom of the life experience of the communities, and now also between the, I call the pluriversal vision from the peripheries of the South and the prefigurative pedagogies that invite us to live here and now the future of we dare to dream. Much of my current work revolves around transformative education. And when I say transformative education, I'm thinking in just to paint education, putting the colors, actually play with colors. And now I'm finishing on a 3 years work called Colors Education, Educación en Colores, which is developed with the support of the UNESCO school network, 10,000 schools around the world. And it translates our work using service learning, translate the UNESCO recommendation on education, peace, human rights, and sustainable development into concrete community-owned practices through symbolic language of colors, right? For example, the green color, green education, we use the peace as a concept, wants to make in peace with nature, addressing, for example, the climate change, the biodiversity, the sustainable production. The blue education means the ocean education, the water, the ocean literacy, the sanitation, the coastal sustainability, and the protection of aquatic life as a foundation for collective well-being. We also developed the orange one called Living Together in Diversity, Arts, Cultural Heritage, Intercultural Dialogue. And the red one, I love red one, changing course towards lasting peace through human rights, social justice, gender equality, youth leadership, and active citizenship. And the multicolored white, because you know when you, combine the colors, the whole colors, you will get a white one. We wanted to integrate perspectives, address complex, interconnected, and problems, combining peace, sustainability, and diversity. This work, I did this work with 700 teachers, 130 schools, and we make a case in Habana del Este, Campo Grande, in Cuba. But this is not just a framework. It's we call it collaboratory, a living laboratory where students, educators, and family, and local actors could create change. This is the thing that I'm doing now, right? And in my perspective, just to end, I believe that service learning, in the way that we have been reframing with our colleagues in the schools in Cuba, Venezuela, and Dominican Republic, we are creating nodes of pluriversal networks where different territories, languages, and epistemologies converge without being absorbed into a single mold. And we infuse the prefigurative pedagogy, and each action becomes a rehearsal of the future, a refusal to wait for justice to arrive, and a commitment to enact it into the present. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, Stephen, you're up.
Morning, everyone. Morning. Okay, all right. My name is Stephen Chen. I'm from Hong Kong originally, but I went to college in the US and also got my graduate degree, my PhD. In fact, I think I'm a bit of a minority here, not because of my skin or color, but because I'm an engineer. I have a PhD in electrical engineering. I think that I might be the only one in this room. Oh, right, great. Good to see you. In fact, that's one of the things that I hoped that IARSLCE would broaden more into. I think among here, a lot of educators, social science people, humanities people, but I think we will benefit a lot more if there are more technology people, engineers, professional people, and I'll tell you a little bit more later. Anyway, after I got my PhD, I worked in Canada for a few years, and then I went back to Hong Kong, and I've been at the Hong Kong Polytechnic University for 30 years now. In the beginning, I was teaching computer science, but gradually I moved more and more into service learning. I think it just happened by chance. But until about 15 years ago, when the university decided to seriously look into service learning, I was asked to be the lead writer for a proposal, eventually make service learning a compulsory credit-bearing course. So all 5,000 students each year in our university take service learning. We offer about 70 different courses, and I was the founding head of the office which promote this program. So for the past 15 years, this has been my main job instead of teaching computer science. A few things that I observe, that I do and observe. First of all, we have a ton of data on students taking service learning. Like imagine, 5,000 students each year, 70 different courses, and our students would serve in Hong Kong, mainland China, and 10 different other countries. In fact, besides Hong Kong, Canada, and US, I have also spent quite a bit of time in Cambodia, in Southeast Asia, and also in Rwanda. I counted last time, I have been to Rwanda 18 times over the past 15 years. Right, so that's how much we have been traveling. And then the one reason why we do this is because Hong Kong is such a small place. We feel that in order to survive, we need to go out. And that's why we are very, very keen to take our students everywhere so that they can meet people who are different, who look different, who believe differently, who behave differently, who do a lot of things very differently. And that helps our students to grow. And I hope that we'll do more in terms of organization in this aspect, because the world really, really needs people who can grow across cultural boundaries and help to address some of these issues that we are facing. I think we are all aware of that. I don't need to keep on badging on this. But a few things that I want to share with you is maybe because of our heritage as a polytechnic. We feel very strongly that technology has a lot to contribute in terms of service learning. For example, a month ago, we took 100 students to Rwanda to install solar panels for 400 houses. Right? And you can imagine people who have never had light before, now they can study, they can cook, they can fellowship and visit each other. That makes a tremendous difference in their lives. And I hope that's what the kind of thing that we are aiming at, to make a real impact through service learning. I talk about internationalization. That also brings up another perspective. We are coming to believe more and more that service learning, of course, is an end in itself. It has its own very lofty objective, but at the same time, it can also help the institution to achieve other very important objectives. In our case, internationalization. Nowadays, people also talk a lot about UN SDG, how we can achieve that. Service learning is a perfect way to help us to achieve that. Right? And there are many, many other things that service learning can be enabler, in addition to being an end in itself. Right? That's something that I hope we will see in the future. Right? Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Carol, what are your thoughts? Yeah.
So Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my name is Carol. Yeah, I come from Hong Kong, but now working in Singapore. Yeah, I think I'm pioneer in Hong Kong to set up the first office of service learning. Then afterward, we vitalized the service learning Asian network in Asia. Yeah, and it's very honored that I'm here today. The reason is when I look at, my history, 2010 to 2016, I was a board member. So I really enjoy my time as a board member, and later on we'll share with you why actually this, become a very important moment to me. Yeah, and so I'm currently working in the Singapore University of Social Sciences as the head of the gerontology program. I start service learning when I was primary school students, and at that time I don't know that it's called service learning. Yeah, right until I attend some of the conference in the States, including IARSLCE and National Service Learning Conference. Yeah, and then I learned about what is the meaning of service learning. But this is actually from a Western society. Then I actually came back to Hong Kong and think about what does it mean service learning to me and also to Asian. Yeah, and we are actually having our own characteristic of service learning, but we may not call it service learning, but we call it community bonding, community solidarity, or maybe community service, community engagement. So there are different terms. So I start also asking myself, so what actually we can do? Is luckily my university at that time, we got a donor who are willing to donate 1 million Hong Kong dollars. So that's why we actually start the first service learning and research scheme. Yeah, after that, I have another donor donate 10 millions to set up the first office of service learning. And then I remember Troy Zhao said that, hey, Carol, you are having the majority of the staff in your office because at that time, the higher number of the staff in my office is 25. Yeah, and then so it's actually quite a lot of staff that are working on that with only a small liberal arts university. We only have 2,500 students at that time. Yeah, and then so we are actually very privileged. So that's why we organize regional conference. So we work with the Asian and then work together. One of the reasons is because I attend a conference in IARSLCE, and then we actually have a group of Asian came in together. And sorry to say that they said the conference fee is very expensive. And then so for them to travel from Asia to US is actually quite expensive. So whether we can do something together in Asia. Yeah, and I said, hey, why not we actually get together and how we can support each other. So we actually set up this network without any membership fee or volunteer work. And then we actually set up our first regional service learning conference. So what I want to say is, it's a lot of effort. I see a lot of development in Asia Pacific. And currently, I also work with different universities in Asia because I actually, get a lot from different conference, international conference. And this actually helped me to actually consolidate the idea of service learning and build an Asian characteristic service learning in our region. And now I'm in Singapore. My first task in Singapore was helping the government to set up the National Service Learning Clearinghouse. Yeah, and then we have the platform and get more university also in Singapore to do service learning. And they are in different pattern. Yeah, could be credit bearing, could be long credit bearing. But what actually we want to do, ultimate goal is to create a social good. Yeah, we also hope that we can, see it as a character education in Singapore. Yeah, and so what I hope to see in our slide, and because later on we'll also ask this question, I want to say our slide to me is like, planting a seed. Yeah, in 2010, I was actually getting a chance that I, meet all of you here. We become friends. Yeah, and some actually become a family members because we see each other. We really think that, wow, so good. I think this is the relationship building that in this community. And the seed actually is not, planting on myself because me are the one that actually going other places to also planting the seed. And if you actually want to know more about what's happening in Asia Pacific, you can join the conference organized by PolyU, or because they are now actually working closely with different universities in Asia, or maybe join the conference organized by Universita. Yeah, because we have all university, they also in Asia trying to promote more service learning and community engagement education. And one thing that I hope we can do more is be inclusive, and then also, try to create a platform to support those who need more support in service learning education. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, I'm trying not to interject, but Carol came out the gate real strong, and I just want to say, there's a group who approached me from the UK service learning group informally about meeting. These are who you should meet with. Between Carol and Stephen, if you're looking to create your own kind of regional network, these are the stories we hope that you will connect with and hear and learn from. So I'm offering up your consultation. So back to the program. Nasira, what are your thoughts?
Thank you. Well, good afternoon. It's already 12. To everyone, my name is Nasira Ramia. I come from Quito, Ecuador, and I am a professor of education there. And I also direct a STEM education program that is directed to help marginalized schools improve their methodologies and critical reflection towards technology as well, and inclusion of people who are not as privileged in having access to technology in my country. So I don't know, over 2 decades, I'm also educated in the US. I have had the privilege of sharing these spaces with such wonderful people. Let me just take in, I am humbled to have been invited to this conference and to this space to talk to you about my journey. It's been, at the beginning, maybe a very lonely journey. I discovered service learning on my own, reading. And then I tried to apply it back in my country, in my university, and have had the incredible also privilege to have found a colleague who was able to listen to me and support me and work alongside me, and who has taken service learning to an institutionalization in our university, and also with whom we have supported the growth of an Ecuadorian service learning network, and discovered other colleagues along the way, like Hector in Chile, and other colleagues in Argentina, as well as all our North American colleagues who we looked up to, from the first conference we attended back in, I can't even remember, was it 2010? Probably. Where we were very inspired. And I think that one of the things that I have found in this field is a lot of inspiration for so many people who are so committed to doing good things for their community, but also who are committed to doing things ethically, reciprocally, who are very careful and very respectful of others and of hearing others' perspectives. And I think that has been my experience, and also how I have seen this field work or transfer from maybe interdisciplinary work to this transdisciplinary, more of an environment where everyone is working together. All these barriers have been erased of fields, of disciplines. We are just, working together. And this also decolonizing views that we all have shared and talked about, this privileging of non-Western ways of doing research, of speaking, of thinking. And all of this I have been very much enriched by my colleagues from IARSLCE. And I'm very, very excited, I think, to see this Global South kind of leadership and recognition of innovative projects, of innovative ways of doing things, conversations, and also policies that are coming out of this region. So I think that I have only been very much enriched, and I can only speak that my journey in my country and in very small country in Ecuador in South America has been enriched by our global colleagues. And that's one of the things that we have been trying to do with my colleague Carla over here, is collaborating more across the globe with colleagues from South America, colleagues from North America, and having experiences for our students, but also going into communities in North America and in South America and in other regions of the world, so that we all learn to live and behave and also have skills that permit us to cooperate and collaborate in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Nicole?
Okay, good afternoon. So I'll start off first by saying I'm Nicole Webster. I am going to tell you a story because I think it's important to provide context as to why I'm sitting on this stage and why I'm doing the work that I'm doing. First and foremost, I am of Caribbean descent, and I need to put that up front and first foremost. Because when we talk about doing the work that we do, sometimes we say we're drawn to this because of our academic, our academic background. It was my parents, it was my community, it was those elders whose voices were always in my ear that said, you are not here because you got an A. You are here because of those who died, who walked that path, who shed blood and tears for you to sit here. So when you sit up on that stage, remember you're not representing just you, you're representing all those who are coming behind you, who stand on your shoulders. So I wanted to start with that first because for me, that is how I walk into my spaces. That is how I intersect with my colleagues. Some who are still trying to figure out, who is this black woman coming with all of this? Yes, that's who I am. But I want to say that because then when I walk into spaces and look at how we now begin to talk about service learning, community engagement, all these things, it's coming from a place of authenticity. So I'm the Dean of Faculty Affairs at Penn State University in the College of Health and Human Development. So I sit in a very unique seat. I sit in an inaugural position, so that was just created 3 years ago, but I am also a professor of recreation, park, and tourism management. So much of my research is based within the lens of civic engagement, but primarily across the African diaspora. So I started my story because I want to tell you how I got to where I am. So much of my work began when I was a graduate student who spent 2 years in Polokwane doing my research. Yes, okay, my Sutu is good, so Tobela. All right. So that then propelled me to say, hey, I have an opportunity to make a difference. It took me on this journey where I was able to do a lot of work back in the Caribbean, particularly in places like Nicaragua, Honduras, where we're looking at Afro-Caribbean populations. I was then able to move into a space where I was able to blend that STEM, so science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, where I was asked to then lead a center in Burkina Faso. So when I talk about my work in West Africa, it is mainly in Anglophone-speaking countries, and we have been able to, I think, create a platform for our faculty and our students to understand how to authentically engage with African scientists in a way that is meaningful and powerful through civic engagement, through service learning. I think the other piece that I'd like to just share before I close is that we talk about our work from a social science lens, but I am now one of the few who's using huge, what we call big data sets. So I'm using the Afrobarometer, which is over 36 countries and over 120,000 participants. And we're looking at creating a map of how civic engagement intersects with democracy and political engagement across the African diaspora, excuse me, across the African continent, and then we'll be looking at that in some other African diasporic places. But that is who I am, and I'm so happy and thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Thank you everyone for your brief introductions and just sharing a little bit about your scholarship and really just hearing your story of why and your rationale and what motivates you in doing this work. We have a couple of questions for them, but before I jump into those, I want to see first, are there any burning questions that you are having in the audience that you would like to ask? Or would you, yes, any questions so far from our regional folks? All right. I will move forward then. Okay, so our first question is reflecting on IARSLCE's 25-year anniversary. It's for Nasira and Carol. Looking back over the past quarter century, what do you consider to be one of the most significant contributions that IARSLCE has made on the global field? It's a big one.
Okay, I think IARSLCE has been very important in placing that importance again on research and bringing the research on service learning, making it more, I guess, more of a legitimate field. Back when I started, it was good practice, but not necessarily something that was researched so much. And I think IARSLCE has done a great job in valuing, as I said before, different methodologies, different ways of knowing, different areas of the world. This has been such an enriching conference, hearing from someone from the Middle East talk about community partners and power structures, hearing from someone from the Netherlands speaking about an transdisciplinary model and a global model of doing work. And so all of these are typical of IARSLCE's conferences, but also I think IARSLCE has been very important in supporting new or upcoming or young researchers. There is the grad student network, and I think that is a wonderful platform for young researchers to find others who are interested and also mentors. And I think that's also a big important thing that IARSLCE has contributed to. And to researchers like myself from an isolated, I guess, area in the world who found this field and then who find a whole wealth of mentors and supporters and people to inspire you. And I think those are to me, the biggest contributions. And of course, I think also IARSLCE's intention to continuously become more inclusive. And I think this conference is such a dream to be here in South Africa, in the Global South, having the conference with so many people. And, my next dream is to have it in South America. I hope in Ecuador, we can welcome you. And it's been so enriching and such a dream to see the path towards more diverse and inclusive knowledge that IARSLCE has taken, and through the leadership of all of you and the support. So yeah, thanks.
You have answered all the questions. No, but before I actually answer these questions, I want to say thank you to Andy Foucault, because he is the one set up the IARSLCE, right? Yeah, so thank you very much, Andy. And then another people that I want to also recognize is Tim Stanton there. Tim Stanton is the service learning pioneer. Yeah, I want to tell you, why Asian come to the IARSLCE. It was because of a number of our country representatives invite Strike Drow, Tim Stanton, Andy Foucault to go to our country to give a talk. And then during the talk, and then they recommend, oh, maybe you can go to this conference. That's why we start to have some Asian also attending the conference here. So I want to really say thank you to all of you, because you are the one that actually help us, inspire us to actually think about the format and the values of service learning in Asia. So I think this is very important, because they are also the members of IARSLCE. Yeah, and then what I also see, other than the research, the evidence-based service learning institutionalization, I think one of the biggest contributions is we are together working towards to the community and create social good together. I think this is the most important, that what I see every time when I attend the IARSLCE conference, then you will see everyone care for students. Everyone care for the community. Everyone care for whether have money or not to continue to do service learning. And I think the togetherness that we all, share, are willing to share, and also what IARSLCE trying to go to different country. And I totally agree that in South Africa, this conference is very successful. And then I also learned about that last time. We organized one in Hong Kong. And then I also heard that there will be one that will be in Philippines. Yeah, so I think, it's very good that to learn about the IARSLCE is not only in the States, because the time that I was in the States it's all in the States, right? Because this conference, this organization is called international. So I always ask myself, where is the internationalization? So when I joined the first conference, myself to join first IARSLCE conference, I don't see a lot of Asian. But today, we have quite a number of, us from Asia here. And we also have some from Europe. We also have some from, a lot from South Africa. Yeah, and then so you can see it's more inclusive. Yeah, I think this is actually one of the biggest achievements. Yeah, thank you.
Now, thank you, Carol, and thank you to Nasira. We certainly are leaning into the eye of IARSLCE and just really looking for ways to be international, and really highlight our global scholars. This one thing I took on when I became a board member is that was the biggest kind of critique that we received from our members. And so to have you in this room, in this space right now, means that we are progressively always evolving and getting better as an organization. And I appreciate that kind of accountability and those shout outs. We certainly wanted to recognize both Tim and Andy as pioneers and trailblazers in the field. And it's not remiss that we forgot to do that. It's just, pioneer's not a great word. So we'll find another one, but we appreciate what you have done for the field. So thank you. And just speaking of Andy, I think that's really why I wanted to have this panel, is that the global research agenda is now kind of soft launching into the field and into the others, and we're hoping to get feedback and insight as well. And so just hoping to have like more and more conversations across the region so that we're not always stateside or US centric when it comes to IARSLCE or even just pushing the field forward. I want to just emphasize what Andy said yesterday, like it's just really a foundation to help these other regions kind of grow, but it's not the end all be all. This is just phase kind of one. So thank you for your responses too. Shifting over to Hector and Stephen, from your regional perspectives, what emerging trends or innovative practices are shaping service learning and community engagement? And what is your part, what do you think our part is in informing the world and kind of shaping that dialogue? I know Stephen kind of mentioned it with technology, and I'm all in there, but Hector, what are you thinking?
Actually, I'm going to take all the things that my fellow colleagues are saying, because if we realize, and then I'm going connected to Latin America, if we are here, it's because somebody, a group of people, decide to make things right. So it's so simple. And in Latin America, and also people who decide to make things right, they create the positive ripple effect to transform something. So of course, IARSLCE is, in my perspective, it's a better organization. And it's quite connected with the Latin American transformation. Because transformation, for example, in Latin America doesn't happen through isolated service learning project. So one of the contributions of my region, I believe we call it the trajectories of change. Actually, we have been talking about the trajectories of change. Or as I learned in the Caribbean, the learning rivers that flows across disciplines, sectors, and generations. This is one of the contributions that I see in Latin America now. And when I say this vision is inseparable from our history of resistance in the region. For example, since the 20th centuries, we have witnessed a thing that we call the cycle of impugnation of neoliberalism. And one of the expressions was the Caracazo, was the Zapatista uprising, Argentine crisis, and the indigenous and campesino mobilization in Bolivia, and also the student community protests in Chile. And now, all of them create trajectories of change. And alongside all these struggles, the new service learning projects emerge, not only in expanded access to participate, but reimagine the very meaning of the education. This is another thing that service learning has been developing, at least in my region. Led by women's like Nieves. So we need to acknowledge that Nieves has started this. But also led by indigenous, Afro-descendants, ecological, migrant workers, and neighborhood movement in Chile, like Movimiento de Pobladores en Lucha. This initiative creates that we call the prefigurative politics in education. This is another contribution that I see. They build community schools, intercultural campuses, grassroots learning networks to reclaim education as a public common, not a market commodity. And just to end, 3 global lessons that we could share from Latin America. The mission-oriented engagement that we have, aligning teaching, research, and outreach with bold mission to confront planetary and social emergencies. The intercultural equity as a live practice. This is another thing that I'm quite proud about Latin America. And from the isolated projects to prefigurative trajectories. Engagement that already embody relationships and values of the future that we want to seek and we deserve to live. Thank you.
I recalled it was Dr. Susan Harris from the University of Southern California who suggested that I, how should I put it, apply to join the board. That was like 6 years ago. And I thought about it a little bit, and eventually the reason that I fell on why I should become a little bit more active was because I had a strong feeling that we who are in Asia find it difficult, as Carol mentioned, to participate actively in IARSLCE, like because of the physical distance, the financial the challenges and everything makes it very difficult for us to even come to the conference. So I thought, okay, maybe I should try to do something about it by joining the board. so I joined, and then after some discussions, and we found that, okay, well, maybe one of the ways to overcome this is to have our own regional conference under the umbrella of IARSLCE, so that there is a regional platform for gathering, but at the same time it's linked to the global community. So we are trying to achieve that, and last December we had our first regional conference, Asia Pacific, in Hong Kong. At the same time, we had a national China conference also in Hong Kong at the same place at the same time. It was by design, but it was very, very challenging. Eventually, I think about 300 people attend the 2 conferences, which are like side by side in the same hotel. There are some political reasons behind it, but I'm not going to explain it. but that's we were making a little bit of progress in Asia because there is a lot of need in Asia. We see a lot of people who have been doing service learning, practicing service learning, but not in a very academic way, not in a very scholarly way. They just do and do and do and do, and then without really a lot of understanding as to what is the theory behind it, what are some of the factors, how we can do this better. In fact, there are some people who are saying that theory can do harm. I heard this first from social workers, but I think the same can apply also in service learning. we don't really have a lot of very strong theory, and sometimes we apply the theory wrongly, and then crossing Harvard instead of creating benefit. Anyway, there's a lot that we have to learn in Asia, and we are trying to learn. That's also partly why we are offering a lot of teacher development courses in Asia. Just in the past 2 or 3 years, we have run the teacher development course in Hong Kong, in mainland China, Philippines, Malaysia, Cambodia, trying to bring up the level of the scholarly training for all the teachers. Another observation that I've had is, I think in the past, at least from our perspective, a lot of service learning is done by people who have the resources, who have the time, who have the money to help other people who are less privileged. But what we have been seeing in Asia, also in Africa, I think to a lot larger extent, also in South America, in these places, a lot of times it is a global South serving the global South. People who don't have the resources and yet still want to do something for their own community or other people's community. So that's, I think, where the growth is going to be. We cannot count on people who have the money and the resources to help other people who are less privileged. Those of us who are there has to do it ourselves. That's what I've learned.
Thank you, Stephen. It certainly reminds me of how you go from being the served to the server, and that is certainly happening, so thank you. Any questions from the crowd yet? Yes, we got one in the back. Can we run a mic? Okay, great. Do you mind introducing yourself, and then we'll state your question?
Hello, everybody. I'm Margie Maestri. I'm a research associate with Rhodes University. I wasn't here yesterday. I came late in the afternoon. And Nicole's focus on context and how it impacts on the work that we do personally, individually, and its relationship with us as academics. When IARSLCE was doing its global research meetings and associations, and at that time, this was sometimes earlier in the year, and Darren conducted facilitated the meetings that we were supposed to have for the African region. One of the issues at that time that was quite a burning issue, and that was a few months back with Trump coming in. Just now you also spoke about South-to-South relationship helping each other. So my question at that time, and I still have that question, is as an organization that has originated in America, IARSLCE, you see at that time, Trump stopped the funding for AIDS work in South Africa. And it was a big issue because it created unemployment, it stopped some of the ARV treatment because the funding came from there. So that's community engagement. I mean, academics engage with that. If we're talking community engagement, we're talking service learning, we're talking students, volunteer programs, that's engagement with the communities. So as an organization that has originated in America, and it is an international association for research, service learning, and community engagement. My question at that point was, what kind of support would IARSLCE give organizations in South Africa that were being affected by what is happening in the American context? See, context is very important. So if we're talking about IARSLCE support to the South, we must also take into consideration what is happening in the American context itself, which is impacting globally on higher education. So, I mean, these are issues we need to think about very critically, and not think that the policies, the funding that is available from the resource-rich countries, and we depended. At that time, I mean, there were articles in the newspaper, radio, about how these organizations were dependent on the funding, even for research itself, with regards to HIV and AIDS. So that is something that needs to be considered quite Seriously. It's not a question, it's a comment.
No, that's a wonderful comment. Thank you. I appreciate that comment and that question. It's certainly something that we want to be able to discuss. Andy actually pulled my ear asking if we could have that conversation later on in the conference, because I certainly believe there's space for it. We have time tomorrow during the member town hall. It could possibly be a hot topic for one of the round tables in this room, but also during the closing reception, because we certainly are aware that the political climate in the U.S. is certainly impacting our partners globally, and I cannot sit here and say that I have the most practiced answer or response, nor do I want to toss it to our scholars here without giving us a chance to kind of muddle over it. But if you would give us an opportunity to take a rest on it, reflect on it, that hyphen in service learning, we can come back to you and have a conversation tomorrow, if that sounds fine with the membership, because I think it's a worthy conversation that while you pivoted and pointed it to us in the North, I would welcome it to all of us to kind of contribute to that, because IARSLCE isn't just because we're housed at Tulane in the U.S., it's a global makeup. And so if we can come together and think of how we want to respond to it or how we could do better, because as you know, we are a volunteer-run organization. We have not the greatest of budgets. We're not multimillionaires of any sort, but we are an association that's made up of membership dues and contributions from around the world. And so if you would like to help us better steward that funding to support each other, I welcome that conversation tomorrow. Looking at Stacy, if not in the morning, certainly during the closing reception. We have 2 hours. So between your champagne, make sure that you bring your thinking caps and we'll have a deep conversation. Yes, ma'am. We're going to get you a mic, and then if you will share your name, that would be lovely.
I think it's afternoon. Damaris Kiewicz from the University of the Western Cape. I've been to one conference. This is my second, even though I say first time. I was always concerned on how you link service learning and community engagement. It's like one of the VCs yesterday said, that it's, and I threw it on my paper yesterday, because how can it stand alone? It's research, learning and teaching, or teaching and learning, and then community engagement. So I remember when I did my poster presentation, I took the 3 pillars and I collapsed it open-ended. Because when you do research, you are going to teach somebody on your research outcomes. Your research outcomes through your student community is going to impact community engagement. Now, many people, the perception of community is either your research community, your teaching and learning community, or your community. Who are they? How do they influence and impact? And I think it is Nicole that took us back to the reality. And for me, like the previous speaker said, I know there's no money, but if there is money for research, we need to change the narrative and discourse of the country, because our research is going to have to influence our student makeup. And our student makeup is going to have to shift how communities engage on policy, on practice, and how to navigate the change we would like to see globally. So, for the panelists and people in this room, how collectively, the Rhodes VC is still in the room, how do we ensure budget change for community engagement? Because it cannot be and, because the and says maybe, maybe not. So we want to shift the maybe to inclusive, because if our students are not going to become fully engaged citizens through research and learning and teaching, or teaching and learning, then some way we have a miss. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to? Let's do Nicole and then with Carol. Thank you.
Hello. So first and foremost, I think we need to, okay, I'm going to put on my administrator's hat. And I think oftentimes that question is posed to us to say, well, where's this coming from? Because you know what? That's soft stuff that's happening over there. That's not really research. And so I think that we need to begin to help. Oh, somebody's getting directions. I think that, and I'm using this word we collectively, need to do a better job at highlighting and not just advocating, but highlighting the successes that happen within our projects, the service learning field, and being able to put that into digestible information that those folks who are making decisions about budgets can then see how does this fit into the narrative of our profile, of our department, of our college, our university. Because if people don't know the story and don't understand how it's impacting not just our students, but the communities in which we're in, I think it's a missed opportunity. I would say a great case study of that is an HBCU, a historically black college and university in the United States. There are a number, but there's one that I just read about Grambling State University, which is in Louisiana. That story of how that the president wove in millions of dollars to go towards civic engagement, community engagement, service learning, all because there was a collective voice and effort to have, from educators, for that provost and her leadership team to understand what is the impact. And the impact is not just on students, it's also on faculty. It's also on staff. It's on the climate and the environment in which our students and our community are working in. So I think we need to do a better job, I'm gonna put myself in that, as administrators to understand and to work and talk, not only with those faculty who are doing that, but getting out in the community. You're not gonna learn being behind your desk. If someone asks you, hey, go and see what's happening in this project, you need to say, okay, let me see if I can make some time. That's what I think needs to happen, but that's just me. So.
Excuse me. What is your name? Sorry, lady? Marvin. Because I want to talk with you. Thank you for the question, right? Because what is IARSLCE doing? This is at least what I hear. And I'm a part of the Global South too. So one of the things that I've been seeing over years in IARSLCE is the change of the, how could I say it? We are changing the beacon of some stuff. So the association is becoming more inclusive, intercultural, more democratic, which is a lot. Talk about democracy in these times, actually. So I want to recognize, first of all, that the association is doing something. And one of the expressions of it, if you don't know that, it's the reinforcement of the cross-cultural and equity committee. And when I say reinforcement, it's because we are working pretty hard on it, pretty hard. Actually, you are very welcome to answer I call it the 6 silly questions, 1 hour to fill it out. And because we are taking this and we are creating actually a plan, and this plan, I know very well that is going to change the way that we manage our association, not just in management ways, also in how going to allocate resources in the future. But as you know, it's extremely, extremely, extremely challenging for an association taking charge the whole part of the budgeting of every single activity. This is impossible. What we are doing now, it's also creating this mission plan oriented. This is not an strategic plan, because it's a mission. We need to fulfill it. And the last thing that I could say about the organization, I've been taking a note to the website because I forget things. At the same time, we are changing structures, and I could say that the organization is taking more awareness about recognition and redistribution. And that's a real fact, right? And this is already happening because our colleagues, 20 years later, they create this trajectory of change. People like Andy, but now people like Rochelle, who has been leading us over this year. And I could ensure to you and all of us that the organization is already working on it. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be fast. And I'm going to finish just a minute with the question of the budget. I'm just going to provide 1 minute example. And Mr. Luke Terra knows very well what we did in Chile. We avoid to ask about money for education, and we started to ask for money for science. Science, because we do science, we do culture, and we do education. So we started to ask for science grants. And let me know, we got it. We got it at least 2 big grants, and now we are going to start on a huge work with 2 million of people in Santiago de Chile, just because we moved the focus to science. Science doesn't mean to develop avant-garde statistics. Science just requires a good question, and science in our field, as I understand, requires a purposeful idea to impact and to create an impact beyond the self and create conditions for the good living. Thank you.
Yeah, what I want to echo is I review, my service learning experience when I first started the Office of Service Learning in Hong Kong. And at that time, we got 10 million as a, startup grant, right? Yeah, and then I actually focused a lot on doing service learning and research. And then we work on the research related to service learning institutionalization, service learning impact on students, faculty. And I want to tell you, in that 10 years in Hong Kong, I fundraised 50 millions altogether, Hong Kong millions. Yeah, it's a lot of money. But when I moved to Singapore, I changed the focus, as what Hector mentioned. From service learning, I changed to film, because now I'm actually focused more on aging and gerontology, because we all are aging now, right? The community care for what? Yeah, care for everyone is aging. We don't have enough manpower to take care of the aged parents. How about ourselves? We also get aging. So that's the reason why, more people are interested in discipline-based, from science to aging, or also SDG. Yeah, and I think we shouldn't just, use the SLCE to ban us, because SLCE is only a vehicle. We should think about the lived people, the life experience of the people, and what are they challenging, what are they facing, and why we want to do it. Go back to ultimate goal, why you are here, why you want to do service learning, because you all want to create social good. I tell you how much that I fundraised in my 10 years in Singapore, 20 million Sing dollars. It's the double of what I fundraised in Hong Kong. So again, I have donor come to me and said that want to give me money, and I tell them, can you hold on? Because I have other project. So what actually we need to do is individual level, institutional level, and government. Yeah, individual level, it depends on whether you are willing to do as what Stephen mentioned. If you wait for the money to come, then you do the work, that will be too late. You start the work first, and people will see, they will give you money. Okay? And then second, institutional level, you have to go and talk to your president, leadership people. What Andrew Foucault's research mentioned about, one of the key items, people, they keep talking about when leadership change, they have no resources. In Taiwan, we have friends from Taiwan here. We know that when the government promotes service learning, and the whole university in Taiwan, they all get funding. But now university changed the term. We don't do service learning. We do university social responsibility. So some of the university, they don't know that service learning could be part of the USR. And then, you know what? Some of the university closed down the Office of Service Learning. So then they changed to another focus. So we have our role to go and talk to the leadership team in the university. And third is the government. I know that part is very difficult. Yeah, it's not easy. But when you have community impact, collective action, then things will come. And I remember that year, that will be a very difficult year. I know that PolyU, I applied for a grant, link up different universities together, but I want to say this is also a barrier because different universities may have different agenda also. But PolyU become a leader and work with different universities on a service learning project. So I think this is somehow that can make things happen. But again, we need to see the timing. Yeah, we need to see whether we are all on or not. Cannot be just one person. If everyone in this room, if you can actually go back to your university every time you talk to your president, talk to your leadership team, oh, we need resources. I give you some impact. I tell you about the evidence. Then things will come.
Thank you, Carol.
Last comments here.
One last comment. I think I respect everything that has been said, but I wanted to give a practical suggestion. So I talked at the start about the partnership that we had in Burkina Faso. That partnership was based with 2IE. So if you know anything about 2IE, it is a water engineering institution that brings in scholars from, the Anglophone Africa, Northern Africa, and Europe. And why it worked is because we were able to show and make the case that when you engage with the community from a thematic perspective, so science, engineering, more people are more likely to give money. So we had money from not only our institution, but also several European governments, as well as WHO, and at that time USAID. But there were quite a few entities that invested in 2IE, so we were able to bring scholars, students, government officials to work within the center. And so I was the director, but unfortunately because of COVID, it did close. But that model is what I talk to other institutions about. How do you set up a regional that spans not just regionally within your country, but also cross borders?
Just to echo my colleagues and I think Carol, our experience just in our little institution, we collected evidence of the impact of our programs for 7 years. And we went continuously to the administration for them to listen to us and to establish. And now we have service learning, community engagement institutionalized. And also, luckily, not because of our effort, but also because of so many citizens in our country, it's also then after that, there comes policy making. Right now, from a policy perspective in Ecuador, because of the discussions on what are the roles of higher education nationally, now we are mandated by our government also to allocate some budget specifically for community engagement. And so all these efforts can come together, first institutionalize, and then also go into the policy making and those spaces to do that job as well. So thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Can we give a round of applause for our panelists? It has truly been a wonderful conversation. I thank you so much for all of them here on the stage, but also for you engaging with us and your wonderful questions. We are going to just end up a little early because I think that we could continue this conversation on, but I also want to give us time to figure out a collective response for Margie tomorrow as well. But I also want to recognize that the fact that we have these 5 global scholars on the stage doesn't mean that they're the end-all be-all of this conversation. I hope that you are walking away from this inspired, have a call to action, learned a little bit of something, but also recognize that you too have a voice and a say in how we move the association forward the next 25 years. And yes, we are having a membership town hall meeting tomorrow where we're hoping that you'll chime in and give us an idea of how we shape our 5-year plan, reaffirm our affirmation statement, but also how do we make this a value add to you so that we don't have to come all the way back to South Africa to get your investment, but maybe you'll join us elsewhere, if not in the US, but maybe somewhere in Hong Kong at some point as well. So the membership town hall is not just for people who are members. It is any and everyone who is in this room who has a name tag. We expect you to be there at 10:30 tomorrow with your thinking caps, notepads ready to talk as well. And then also we'll be continuing on, like we have the Global Research Agenda. It is here. Grateful to Andy for releasing that to us. Like there's so much more ways that we're hoping to get all of our regions across the globe involved and invested in IARSLCE. It's not just us in the US leading this charge. It's all of you. And so going back to what Aneshka said too, fill out the survey so we know what you're looking for from us. We take accountability well. If you saw us from 5 years ago, we've evolved, we've changed, and if I can, I'll pat myself on the back like we've done a lot in these last 5 years. So thankful for that, but also go get some lunch, and we'll see you back at concurrent sessions around 2:15. Thank you all.